How to Use the Correct Business Letter Format by Dax Cheng. CopyrightWritingBusinessLetters.com. Why it is important to use the correct business letter format. Because the way a business letter looks immediately gives the reader their first impression, even before they read it. The quality of the paper, letterhead design, the margins, spacing, and more all have something to say about the organization. A weakness in any of these elements can detract from the effectiveness of the message, even though it may be expertly written. The following explains all the elements in detail. The paper. I recommend using the 20-pound for normal use and 32-pound for important letters like resume cover letters and thank you letters. Color. White is the standard and should usually be used. Light tints, gray, blue, green, etc. are also becoming popular. Size. To me, the A4 and the letter are the only acceptable sizes. There are other sizes, but I don't recommend it unless you are in the creative field or you are trying to capture attention for a sales letter. Layout. In a business letter format, there are many layouts. The three most popular are the semi-blocked, blocked, and full blocked. In a semi-blocked format, the first line of each paragraph is indented. The rest of the heading, salutation, etc. is left justified. In a blocked format, all text is aligned to the left margin. Paragraphs are not indented. In a full blocked format, all text is justified aligned. Paragraphs are not indented. In a justified alignment, the text aligns with both the left and right margins. Whatever layout you wish to use, it does not really matter. As for me, I prefer the full blocked simply because it is easier to type on the computer. Margins. Left and right 1 inch, top and bottom 1.5 inch. Spacing. Most business letters using the correct business letter format are single-spaced. Use double space for short letters. Leave 1 blank line between paragraphs, 2 blank lines before the complimentary close, and 3 to 4 lines for the signature. Envelopes. Make sure the address on your envelope is easy to read so that it does not get tossed in some mailroom. Place the address just below the vertical center and just to the right of the horizontal center. Any special instructions such as personal, please forward, or confidential goes on the left side of the envelope below the return address. Place an attention line directly below the company name on an envelope. Make sure the address on the envelope is written so that a postal worker can read it at a glance. When both a street and a post office address are given, the Postal Service will deliver your letter to the address that appears directly above the zip code. On the envelope address, type the names of foreign countries all in caps. Spell out all numerical street names from 1 to 10. Use a hyphen between street and residence numbers. Common business letter format elements. 1. Your own address. In most business situations, you will be using your company pre-printed letterhead. If you are using a blank paper, then type out the address. 2. Date lines. Place the date at least 2 spaces below the letterhead. The line may be flush left or right, or centered below the letterhead. Do not abbreviate the month or use ND, ST, or TH with the day numbers, like May 5th, 2011. Also, do not use a month's number, like 6/23/11. Both date orders listed below are appropriate. However, the latter is used mainly by the government, the military, and those outside the United States. December 10, 2010, 10 December 2010. 3. Receiver address. Type the receiver's address in this section: addressee, address, city, state, zip. Make sure a person's name is spelled correctly. A recipient may decide to ignore a letter that was written by someone who cannot spell his or her name. Do not use both the title and the degree of a person. For example, write either Harry Beaver, DDS, or Dr. Harry Beaver, and not Dr. Harry Beaver, DDS. 2 or more men are addressed as Messrs., which means Misters. Do not use first names with this abbreviation: Mr. Smith, White, and Fury. 2 or more women are dressed as Madame, Mademoiselle, or Mademoiselles. Do not use first names with these abbreviations: Mademoiselles Barb, Lionel, and Gray. When addressing couples, give both appropriate titles: Dr. and Mrs. Harold Wright, Mr. Harold Wright, and Dr. Margaret Wright. Doctors Harold and Margaret Wright, Dr. Margaret Wright and Mr. Stephen Jones, Mr. and Mrs. Harvey Adams Quinn, Ms. Margaret Wright and Mr. Stephen Jones. In selecting a title, always notice the way an individual identifies him or herself. For example, some who hold degrees do not use their titles while others do. Some married women prefer Mrs., others prefer Ms. If you do not know the title the woman prefers, use the standard Ms. or drop the title altogether. Place the inside address at least 2 lines below the date. Place a person's title after his name unless it is unusually long, then go to the next line. Lex Luthor, President. Lex Luthor, Vice President of International Operations. The comma before the abbreviations Junior and Senior is optional. Ken Griffey, Jr., Ken Griffey Sr. 4. Salutation. Always use the name of the individual if you know it. Examples: personal friend or close business associate. Dear Amy. Dear Mrs. Ryder. Dear Miss Spears. Use Ms. if you don't know the marital status or the preference. Dear Ms. Tyler. Dear Mr. Farnham. Dear Dr. Doom. Dear Sir Elton John. If you don't know the name of the individual, address it to the individual's title in the company, and then use Dear Sir or Madam. Here is an example. Head of Human Resource, Evil Empire Inc., 123 Sesame Street. Dear Sir or Madam. But please only use this if you really cannot find out the name of the person. Most companies will tell you who the person is. All it takes is a phone call. It is also quite easy to find this information on LinkedIn these days. If you are addressing to an organization and not an individual, then use the following. Ladies and gentlemen. And if you want to highlight the letter to individuals in the organization, use the attention line as follows. Attention, Miss J. Fonda, CEO, and Mr. M. Jackson, CFO. Ladies and gentlemen, If you are addressing officials, it requires a more formal salutation. See Addressing Business Letters for Officials and Business Letter Salutation FAQ in the PDF for more information. 5. Letter Body. This is the body of your letter. This is the actual content of your letter. For specific advice on what to say in the body, please go to writingbusinessletters.com. In the site, I try to cover how to write the body effectively so that you can get your message across and achieve your objective.